Hello, welcome. Today we're here talking about how to double your sales within your business, or if you're a sales person. And the goal behind this is to really give you tactical and actionable things that you can put into play into whatever it is that you're doing without you getting sales pitched. The main goal behind this today is to showcase that there is a better way to do things. Because if you're here now, if you're watching this right now, you're watching it for a reason. You're not here just because you think my voice is lovely or you've got nothing better to do. It's because you're looking for a better way to make more results, increase revenue, increase sales, whatever that might be. And the plan over the next hour is to be able to unravel some of the big things that people are doing, how they're not necessarily adding resistance into what you're doing without you realizing, and giving you solutions on the way you can actually move forward. Now, there's no sales pitch on this conversation. If anyone wants to get in touch, drop me a message after. You want to talk to one of the team, you can do. But I really want this session to be 100% focused in and around you and you getting more results. So we're going to really break things down into a better way for you to be able to really get things moving forward within what you're doing as well. So we're going to talk about three main pillars. We're going to be talking about primarily the skill set, but we're also going to activate in and around the mindset and on the habit side as well. Because actually, if you guys can get the skill set, the mindset, and the habits all organized in the same go, then your life's going to be a hell of a lot easier. And the main reason we don't have what we want right now is because we're not doing things in the right way. It is genuinely that simple. The problem is no one is intentionally doing things in the wrong way. Everything that we go off and do, we do it in the way we do it because that's the reason we thought was the best way, the thing that was going to bring the best results. And if we're at the stage now that we want to get more results, we've got to make a change. And change is going to be one of the biggest things for us to really overcome. But what I want to do today is break down how some of these frameworks will help you so that you get to have a little bit of a, aha, I can do this differently. A little bit of an aha moment on, so that could work. Or maybe I'm doing this wrong. Or maybe I'm doing that wrong. I thought I'd open that door and it'd be a smart ring too. Definitely not. So, a bit of housekeeping before we go any further with it. If you want to talk more to anyone after, you can. If you want to just take this and use it, you can. All I ask for is if you're going to sit and go through the motions with what we're talking about today, make a decision around what is going to be the change that you put into place. Or if you watch this whole thing and at the end of it, you go, I haven't learned a single thing. That guy's not helped me at all. I hate to say it, the best thing to do is just to unfollow me and never talk to me. And I don't mean that in a rude way. And what I mean by this is we are absolutely inundated now with all these different people, these gurus, these educators, these coaches, these ideas, these plans. And our brains can't cope with bringing all of that into our lives. So we've got to decide who we're going to listen to. We've got to make a decision who we're going to listen to, because otherwise you're trying to take a sprinkle of everyone and it just ends up with a mess. Now, of course, I want you to work with me, but my big goal here is I want people to get the help that they actually need. I want you to get the next level. So, if you're watching this back, first thing to understand is if you are here for a reason, what is that actual reason? One of the big reasons I hear people talk about all the time is leads. Other people hear people talk about they want to close more deals. Some people want to handle objections better. Some people have got low confidence. And whatever it is around these, we're going to touch on some of these points for you today to make your life easier. And we're going to try and make sure that what I give you is a real actionable step-by-step process that will actually help you move forward. Now, if you're watching this back, you will see my camera keep zooming in and out. And it seems to try the settings, nothing changes. So here's what I want you to think about at the moment. If you are at the stage within your business, what is it that you are here for watching this now? What is the thing that if we pressed the magical button now, we would change? If you could double your close rate, is it even possible? If you could have more confidence, would that make the difference? If I just had more leads, would that make the difference? And we've got to then understand, and this is one of my favorite phrases in the world, is what you're not changing, you're choosing. I saw it on a podcast, and it is so accurate, because anything in your business now or in your sales career that you have settled for and you aren't changing, you are choosing to keep it as a problem. Now, you might be chipping away at it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, but actually you need to be at the stage where you are proactively moving towards making a solution happen. Because that's what everyone in your life that you're trying to sell to is aiming to do. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to start thinking about stop selling. And I want instead for you to start helping. Now, I am fully aware that this sounds completely and utterly ridiculous. I know this sounds like a plan but won't make sense to you. Because actually, the big problem we have now is everyone's trying to push their products. But actually, no one cares about our products. What they care about is what the products are going to do for us. They care about what is the likelihood that what this person tells me is going to happen is actually going to happen. And actually, is the worst case scenario, what could happen, still better than making a purchase? And I'll give you a prime example. I went to buy a BMW M3 years ago, the E46. It was a great car. Gunmetal grey, cool as you like, SNG gearbox, over the moon. Now, when my friend come with me to go and buy the car, he was like, just lowball the life out of them. And I didn't really want to do it. I was in my mid-20s. And the guy offered him a nuts offer. My friend was just like, oh, we'll give you 22 grand. I think it was up to 34. And the guy literally was like, that is ridiculous. I'm not going to do it, blah, blah, blah. And me and my friend were chatting after. We didn't get the deal. I got an M3, but it was a different one. And I said to him, why did you do that? And he was like, because if I can get it for 26, I wanted it at 24, 6, so I offered him 24. If I could have got it at 26, I know I worst case scenario could sell it tomorrow for 27. So then the worst case scenario would still, he would be up. And you need your prospects, your buyers, to get to the stage where they feel exactly the same, where they almost feel stupid to not go ahead and work with you, to buy your product, to buy your service. And that's really what I want to break down in some of these details today to help you move forward. So who's this going to be for? Business owners. If you're a founder-led organization, so that means you're wearing all the hats, you're doing all the selling, you're doing it all, you're pushed for time, you're trying to do the sales, you haven't got as much experience as you like, maybe you're not as skilled or effective, this is perfect for you. If you're high-ticket sales, this again, really, really good. It's going to be very practical and actionable. And even if you're a manager or if you've got a company, the big thing here is what is it you're selling? I don't typically work with companies that don't sell at least a 2.5K product, and a lot of those products are 10 to 50 grand, just because I am not a cheap guy to work with, but our results are high. We take people from 20 grand a month to £250,000 a month. So it makes sense, but we're going to want to be able to help people do that. If I'm getting someone who's selling a £500 product, even if I get them to 25 grand a month, it's not that big a change in their life. And I care more about helping people to achieve the goals that they set out to get that they might have given up on. So that's where we're going to go. So we're going to hop into it and start moving forward with the plan on how this is going to work, just so it gives you a little bit more idea. Now, give you a couple of phrases that I like to live by. I said earlier, what you're not changing, you're choosing. Remember that, implement it into your life. And then this is something which was told to me. And that was, you have to find the time to move forward. And at the time when I first heard this, I thought, yeah, obviously. And it took a bit of time to sink in. But what he was actually talking about was finding the time to work on the business, not just in it. Not just being on the hamster wheel trying to keep the lifestyle you've got. Because you end up not getting off the wheel. You get stuck. You get trapped. And that's the problem for the vast majority of founder-led sales organizations. When we talk to people in solar, the trades companies, these jobs out there where they're wearing all the hats, coaches, consultants, experts, even down to insurance agents. They're wearing all the hats, so they're time poor, and they end up getting caught in doing the same task over and over and over again, and the business doesn't grow, and they get almost to a stalemate where they're just drained and they end up becoming burned out, and no one needs that. Next one we've got, and that is the results you are missing is in the things you don't do. And I put in brackets, right. Because for a lot of people, they might be doing some of the things, but actually you might just be doing it slightly off. Prime example, if I was a chef and I've got the best ingredients in the world, and I've got a recipe that crushes, I've got all the ingredients, the equipment, I've got the best kitchen, I've got all of it. And the problem is I mix it all up and I put it all together and it's all great. And I go to put this cake in the oven and I only put it in for 6 minutes. Everything else goes out of the window because I haven't done all of the things right. And if you've got just one area that is off, it will dramatically impact everything else within there. Another prime example, let's say that we're playing football and I would do some absolute terrible drawings. So let's say we're playing football and you're in this half and you run around and you've got all the other players and you've run around, you've done all this stuff, you've done all the cool stuff. If you've done all of this, that's great. But if every time you get on goal, you get to the goal and you hoof it and you go off just 2% off target, you're not scoring any goals. And the big problem for most people is they do all this cool stuff, but their shooting average is so low because they don't know how to sell. And selling isn't about coercive behavior. It's not about manipulation. It's about helping people normally remove a problem or a pain that they've got. A prime example is this. If you take sales calls, you do calls, however you want to talk about them, no one in their right mind books a call that doesn't want help. And the problem is they get on a call and two things happen. You end up saying something that increases resistance and you do that without realizing it. No one is intentionally saying things wrong. Or you do something that reduces the flow of the conversation. Now, everything that we do, every step that we take, every word that we speak, every action that we have will increase or reduce resistance, increase or reduce flow. And no one in their right mind is purposely adding resistance and reducing flow. But every single one of you can remember a time where you went into somewhere, maybe to buy a car. I can remember doing it with a Mercedes C63 AMG Estate, one of the most underrated cars. And I loved that car. And I went to this place with the intention of buying it. And the guy who was selling to me was so bad, it put me off the car. He just annoyed me. To the extent I fell out of love with a C63 AMG. They are still a great car. But that guy did not wake up on that morning with a plan of adding resistance to the sales process. He didn't plan to remove the flow, but he did. So if someone else can do that same thing, it would be arrogant of us to think that other people, that couldn't happen to us as well. And that's why it's so important to realize these things happen all the time in sales, and we don't consciously know that they're going to happen. But when they do happen, they screw us over. That's why we end up with such low results. So, simple way to look at this. If you're here, if you're watching this now and you're at a stage where you're thinking, okay, I want to get some new results, but how? That's what we're going to talk about. And you've got to be able to work this out for yourself. And one of the easiest ways I talk to people about this is if last week's results or last month's results were repeated every single week or month for the rest of your life, would you be happy? Like, would you be like, yes, I crushed last week, last month, I'm happy to repeat it? Realistically, you wouldn't be, because otherwise you wouldn't have come along to this masterclass, this webinar, because you've come here because you're looking for something. You're looking for that next step, that next level, because you know that something isn't working. So if we understand that we want to make a change, the next step is we have to give up the existing plan that we're on. And this is where it goes wrong for most of you when you're selling. You'll go out and you'll be talking to a prospect. Let's say it's a coaching program, or let's say it's solar for the guys who do solar. We'll start talking about the product and the service. We'll start talking about the features and the benefits. We'll start talking about how long we've been going as a company, like the profile. We'll start talking about random things. They like basketball. Do you like basketball? We start talking about all of this stuff. And the problem ends up being that that person hadn't made a decision to make a change. They're still at the early stages of, do I even want this? And all you're doing is talking about all this stuff without even knowing if that person is ready to even move forward. Because if they're not open to a change, if they're not open to new, it is completely wasted doing all of these things. And you end up having loads of really nice conversations that don't go anywhere. And that's why you get ghosted so much. So this is what I want us to cover today. We're going to talk about three main areas. We're going to talk about the mindset side. We're not going to go all kumbaya and start meditating, but it needs to be a shift in a degree of mindset. We need to change up the skill set wise, and we want to talk about the habits. Now, you might well already have a good mindset, skill set, and habits, but I want you to imagine for a moment, add one word at the front. And let's say that you are good at something. Let's say, how could you become even better? Let's say you're great, even greater. Because if you're at the stage now, like that football analogy, and you've got a 5 out of 10 conversion rate, we need to understand a couple of things first. So, let's say this is you. And there's loads of different ways you might sell. You might have a 1 stage, a 2 stage, a 3 stage. You might even have a 4 stage sales process. As in, you talk to them, pitch them, close the deal, set an appointment, and then it goes into the close. There might be appointment, pitch, there might be a proposal, there might be cold call, there might be triage, pitch, close, proposal. Whatever it is, 1, 2, 3, 4 stage calls. You've got to work this out a little bit for yourself on this. But let's base it on, say, a 2 stage. Let's say that you do a 2-stage process. Let's say that you generate leads from paid ads. whatever it might be. If you're cold calling, just add it to the front. So you've got your appointment stage, and then you've got the closing stage. Before you think that you're already kicking ass and you're here because you want help, work this out. What is your current conversion rates for number of leads into setting a qualified appointment? And what is your conversion rate for closing those sat appointments? So let's say 100 leads came in from paid ads and you were going to go off and set those. How many would that be? Let's say that you were going to get 20 appointments, and out of those, you only close 20%. So we go, okay, cool. So 120 appointments, 20%. Okay, so I get 4 deals. And let's say that your deal side average is £5,000. Cool. So you got 20 grand revenue, 240 grand a year. Sweet. So now we know where we are. So we know now that we've got a 20% conversion and we've got 20 here. Okay, great. So let's move these along. So we've got 20% here and we've got 20% here. Now that's all well and good. So it's 240k per year based on that being a 5k product. Okay. So you go, okay, but that's cool. We're doing 240 grand a year. But here's where the problem lies. Most people haven't gone off and worked out what is the industry either standard or the industry high. And this is where it all suddenly changes. Because let's say in that same stage, 2-stage process, but we've got our appointments, we've got our closing. Let's say that we put in the same 100 leads. And in your high industry standard, let's say someone like solar, let's say that you can average out 70% of people that you fully talk to convert to appointment. And let's say that you're at 60% in your closing rate. So that would suddenly mean that you've got 70 leads coming in here and 70 leads or 70 appointments, into appointment. And then you're going to have 60% of these. Or 50% of that would be 35, say it's 42. At the same 5k product, you can work that out. 10 would be 50, 200, I can't even work that out. It's a hell of a lot more. That would be 200, about 240 grand a month. A month, so nearly 2.8 million a year. So then we go, okay, so if this is the industry standard or the industry high, you not knowing the right mindset, skill set, and the habits actually is costing you. Your yearly income could be a monthly income. Now we realize this. Now we start going, okay, so there's actually a problem. Because let's just say that I'm right. Let's just say that this is you right now, and this is actually the industry high. It's hard sometimes to realize that this is what you could actually make. But imagine if you just got halfway. Say you didn't get to the industry high, but you got this up to whatever, 40%, and you got this up to 35%. You'd still be able to put 100 in here, get 40 appointments, 40 at that stage, I don't know what that would be, probably 120 grand a month. Rather than 240 grand a year, which would work out at 20k a month. So without even getting to the industry high, you now go, okay, cool. So me not knowing the right mindset, skill set, habits is actually costing me around £100,000 a month in my business. This is before we talk about profit margins and overheads and scaling. Now imagine for a moment, let's say that you're doing this in a business, something like a founder-led company, say it's in solar, and your goal eventually is to get out of sales. Now you've got this, let's say that we're here. Now you could bring someone in as an appointment setter Because you're crushing it, you'll have set the high standard. And instead of spending a very small amount of time doing this, they're now doing this full time. So they could actually end up doubling the amount of leads you've got in at the front. So you can now take on, say, 200 leads instead of 100. You could be at the stage, instead of getting 40 lead appointments, you're now getting 80 because you're still doing all the closing now, which means you can then go and close twice as many deals. That's going to get you then to 240 grand a month. Now, the whole reason I'm bringing this down is hopefully you watch this and suddenly go, okay, these numbers aren't relative to me, but I don't actually know what the industry hires. And here's where the problem lies. Everyone out there has myths, fears, and misconceptions around things. Let's say my name's Bob, and Bob's got, carry on with the solar side. Let's say it's a solar business. And I've been running it for 2 years. And I can't break, 40 grand a month. And I'm working 60 hours a week. And I'm tired and I'm frustrated. Someone like me suddenly rearing their ugly head and saying, but this is the industry standard, let's try and get you there. Bob's going to have a fear that I might be lying. They might have a fear that they've been doing it wrong. They might have a misconception of what's possible, and they might believe that it's all bollocks. So he has to have a change in his mindset, or a change in the beliefs, or he's got to change these, or he's got to change the belief system he has before I even talk about the product and service. Because there would be no point in having that conversation if he doesn't believe that this is bad. If we're at the stage now where Bob feels that this is the best it could be, why would he change? If Bob feels like he's hitting it out of the park so much with his Too Cool process, he's not going to want to make a change. Now ask yourself, with the product and the service that you sell, what are some of the myths, fears, and misconceptions and beliefs that your prospects have? Now, they don't have to be right, but if someone holds a belief, whether it's right or whether it's not, it's completely irrelevant at this point. Has anyone ever watched a horror movie? I'm awful with them. Hate them. And I remember watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was younger. And I remember going to bed that night, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I dreamt I was being tortured and my leg had been chopped off, and at the end he's rubbing salt and he's on a hook, and I woke up just to get dropped on a hook. Horrific. Now, do I believe I'm in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre horror movie? No. But in that dream, I had a belief and a fear about it. Did I sleep well that night? No, because my brain had started to believe I was in this dream place. And that stuck with me. Think about it if you've got kids and they're scared of the dark. Just telling someone not to be scared of the dark doesn't change their belief. Once their belief changes, their habits can change. And if you're at the stage now where you don't understand the difference between where you are, your stats, for example, appointment setting, closing, and the industry high for this appointment setting, closing, based on where you are, you don't know how far away you are from a bigger goal. And this is why it is so important to be able to do this for your prospects. Your prospects need to understand the similar version. Go back to Bob. Let's say if Bob's having conversations with people that wanted solar, they need to be able to understand where they are now, their location, where the dream result is, and then we need to be able to understand the rocks, the boulders, the stepping stones are in the way to get to that next place. And that's why most people in sales screw it up, because they start talking about the features and the benefits instead of painting a picture and understanding what their buyers actually believe. And that's why this has to move us forward. And this is why, for a vast majority of people that are out there, you have to understand that just something as simple as this, but done for your own business, will make a dramatic difference. Maybe some of you are watching this now, whether you're here on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, whether you're here on Zoom, and you're going, oh, okay, cool. So let's say this is right. And this is right, by the way, for solar. We have lots of companies that are doing 60% closing, 70% here, and are scaling it out. Plus, they've also will convert deals at, say, 10% inside of follow-up. Sometimes that'll be as high as 20%. And that'll add into more bonus revenue. Then it's easy to scale out of what they're doing. So, for example, a solar company could watch this and say, damn, we're here, we could be there. Us not knowing this is costing us £2.8 million a year per salesperson. Now we need to change. Now that their belief pattern has changed, their fears will still be there. We might have broken myth and they might have got rid of a misconception. Now all we've got to do is look into the fears that they have. So let's break that down in a little bit more of an organized way. So let's say we've got rid of the misconceptions and we've changed the beliefs. We're not worried about doing all of this stuff because that's out of the way. It doesn't matter about any of this stage. We're not too worried about follow-up. All we need to focus on now we've done all of this hard work and we've changed the belief pattern, the strategy and all the other. All we've now got to do is be able to focus in on the fears they have. And there's going to be a couple of types of fears. There's going to be the fears they know they have, and there's going to be the fears they don't know. And there are going to be certain fears they have no they have no idea what they feel. So what do we have to do at this point? We've got to be able to help people get to a better perspective about exactly what's going on, where their head is now, and we need to meet them at their current location. And this is where most people in a sales process get it completely wrong. Let me break this down for you in a little bit more of an idea. And by the way, this whiteboard's driving me nuts. So we're definitely going to have to buy one of those digital ones, I think. So, what have we got to do? If we've got to understand their fears, we need to know where they are right now. We need to be able to help them move forward in an organized way. Okay, so that was completely and utterly bizarre. No idea what happened, but whether you're here watching this through LinkedIn, it's streaming on there, TikTok, Instagram, or whether you're just here directly on the Zoom, I apologize for the break in communication. Okay, so let's jump into it and carry on a little bit more what we were talking about. So the goal here at the moment is we need to focus in a little bit more in and around the fear that people have. Once we've changed their perspective and their belief that something else out there is better than what they currently have. Now what we need to be able to do is meet them where they are. And I'll give you an example of exactly how most people get it wrong. Most people see it that the lead or the prospect adds their details, now they come into your environment. I've got a lead, they're in my funnel, blah, 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 all that crap. Completely wrong. You need to realize, let's say, this is when they die, let's say they're 80 years old. And this is when they were born. And let's say right now, they're 40 years old. So this is their life so far. All of this has happened so far. Good, the bad, the ugly, has all happened in their life. So, you have entered their life. And we need to act accordingly. Think of it like getting in a car. You know, when someone gets in your car, you're in control, you're stereo, you're choosing where we go. We're not getting a lift with these people. They're not getting a lift with us. We're getting into their car. We're entering their life. And we have to understand that the fears, the misconceptions, the beliefs that they had have all come from here. They might have been experienced. They might be things they've been told, things they've been exposed to, things that people have told them is completely and utterly wrong, could all have happened. And that has got them to this stage where they are now. Now you enter their life and you're asking them to change this belief system to a degree to take the step to get to the promised land of whatever it is they're trying to do. So let's say, for example, you're going to help someone who's making 30 grand a year, make 100 grand a year. Well, you're not just trying to help them make 100 grand a year. That's the goal. You're trying to help them because in my head, I'd be like, okay, well, you might do this on your own, but you might just take 10 years and do it when you get there to 50. What about if I can help you and I could get you there by the time you're 42? So that's with me. So the cheat code here is by hiring me, you're going to get to the same goal within your life, but you're going to get there sooner. It means you're going to have all these extra years hitting the goal that you wanted. And we've then got to be able to go, okay, let's imagine what we've got to work out. Is the fear for them that I can get to them to the goal? Is the fear that they won't hit that goal? Is it will be the time scale? So let's say that they believe that they know I can help them, but they don't believe I'll get to 100 grand a year. Let's imagine if they believe that they could get to 50 grand a year here, and then year 2, 60, and then 70, and then 80. They might be able to believe that worst case scenario, we'll get there sooner. Then it might be a good investment. So we've got to make sure we're understanding. But as we join people's lives, the baggage that they have, whether it is right or it is wrong, we have to understand why they have the beliefs they have to help make a change in their beliefs, in their myths, and remove the fears so that the worst case scenario is so much better than the current plan. Because if we can get someone to believe and see from their own perspective that by making a change, their life will be better, it is easy for them to move. And I say it on nearly every single sales call I ever get on. I only want you to buy from me if you see your life is better with it. I say that to people. Please only buy this today if you genuinely believe it's going to make your life better. Is that fair enough? Yes. And at the end of the conversation, it's very easy to say, well, listen, we said earlier, do you feel it's going to make your life better? Okay, cool. How's it going to be? Why? Da, 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 da. And then we can start going 3 levels deeper into the conversations that we're having, but because we've added a pre-frame at the start. So let's jump into that a little bit more. So we spoke earlier about the different ways of selling, and you've got your 1, 2, 3, 4 stage closes. We're going to focus in on the 2-stage close, so your appointment setting, and then the close pitch. That might be face-to-face, that might be phone, that might be Zoom, whatever it is. So most people think that this is the biggest problem area when they're in closed town. They feel that this is the main problem, that if I could just fix this, everything else will rocket and I'll make the money. Now, yes, that might well be true, but here isn't the problem. Here is the result. Here is the end. Here you find out what their location is. And the problem for most people, they're spending all their time talking about pictures, features, benefits, companies, blah, blah, blah. But they don't really find out until the end. And they feel but this person is ready to go. But they haven't even worked out where that person's head is. So they're just asking for the order, hoping for the best, and they haven't ensured that the person is actually ready to move forward. And this is why so many people get the time objection, think about it, partner, all of which just means when you've gone to this part, they weren't ready. You thought that they were ready to go, but you thought their location was here and they're primed, ready to take action. But they might have disappeared because you've added too much resistance without realizing, and you've reduced the flow, like we said earlier, of the conversation to a stage where they don't feel comfortable to move forward. And this is why we have to make a change. Because let's say at the moment, we go back to those stats earlier, and let's say that you've got a 20% conversion and the industry high is a 60% conversion. It's not just because they get to this part better, it's all the little stages throughout this process and throughout this process and what happens here and what happened here that will all make a difference on where this client goes. And I'll give you a prime example. Most people will rush the appointment setting stage and just hope that this is okay. There's a gap here where nothing happens, or for some of you amazing people out there, you might send them an email or a text reminder. But that's it. So their thermometer of interest, even if you've done a good job here, by the time it gets here, has dropped. So this is a problem. But actually, what about the appointment stage itself? If you're setting appointments, how have you done the best job here to make this part so much easier? And what we need to do is stop rushing this and actually have a plan for what you are trying to do here to get them to change beliefs, remove fears, set the tone, and inspire change. And actually, you don't want to be doing all of this here. You want to be doing all of this here, here, here. So that when they get to this stage, it is about wanting to make a change. But they don't want to stay in the same place anymore. But they want to move forward. So when you're watching this now, I want you to think about within your process. And if you've got a 3-stage process, this can be exactly the same. But you've got your 3 stages and you've got these voids. And it gets to the close at the end and you haven't done enough to work all the way through. But the reason I focus on the 2 stage is because it's easy for us to understand it and bolt more in. So then think about it like this. Let's imagine you've got down on their level. And you now understand, like we said earlier, why they're scared of the dark. We've realised that on their lifeline of their journey, it's actually understandable to think that they might doubt you. It's actually understandable to think that they might have concerns. It might actually be understandable that they're worried because you understand where they've been. And for a vast majority of people, we haven't found out enough to really understand them on where they've been, how they ended up where they are right now, and what's going on in their head to be able to make a change. So there's a number of different ways that you can bring this in. You can implement things to break their beliefs, alter their beliefs. You might be able to change from the fake news that they get. You need to show them. You get them. You need them to watch maybe a video that makes them go, that's me. Because if we can watch a video or they watch a story or they watch a plan and they go, oh, that's me, instantly they start leaning into something more. And if you've got that here before the appointment, they've already started to change their beliefs before you get here. Now, the appointment stage, you can shatter these more. And then at this stage, you can start doing something else. So by the time we get to this stage here, we aren't waiting till the end of the call to try and sell. We want to be at the stage we are being competent throughout the process, helping this person move forward. And actually, the big problem is that most people are not proactively trying to help someone. Most people are just following the steps that someone else gave them on a free YouTube video 10 years ago. And we don't actually deliver to the people we're trying to help. So they end up feeling, I need more time. They end up feeling, I need to think about it. They end up wanting to speak to their partner. But what does that actually mean? It means I'm sort of interested, but I want to remove making a decision. That's all that's happening. Now, there was a study called The Forgotten Curve that came out, I think it was Oxford University years ago. And it basically shows, to have a look for this, The Forgotten Curve, on when people are told information, and then you had a timeline, I think it's over 90 hours. But they've been told all this information. And then over time, how quick the percentage of that information they were told is removed. And this timeline, literally, it was like, this was after 12 hours, 24, 36. So when we end up having people saying, I want to think about it, their intention is real. Yes, I want to think about it because you haven't done a good enough job to sell them the right way. But what happens is they go off thinking, I'm going to think about it. And 24 hours later, they've forgotten all this information. So now they can't make a decision because they're missing vital parts. So we're asking people to make a buying decision without all the information because they're forgetting some of that information. I'll give you another prime example. Let's talk partners. Now, I don't believe in the partner objection, but let's pretend for a minute. Let's just pretend for those pedantic people out there who say, no, I like to talk to my partner. Me and my partner always make our joint decisions, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So let's say, for example, on this stage here, we'll bring it over to here, but I spend 45 minutes as an expert building a plan with a prospect to the stage where they're like, yes, this is for me. He's going to then take this 45 minutes worth of information and he's going to have a very small summary version that he can recall. He's going to go home, let's say 5 hours later. In this time, he spoke to 30 other people, had problems, had coffee, went for food, all this other stuff. And he's going to get home, and he gets home, or maybe it's a woman, and they get home, and they meet their partner, and they go, darling, had a great conversation with Dave today, and we spoke about A, B, C, and X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And at the same time, the partner's sort of listening, but they're also making the dinner, feeding the kids, and they're sort of paying attention. So if it took me 45 minutes of someone who is aligned with a problem that they want to fix, and they go and have a summary version, let's say that it's this much that they take, and they think that that small 15-minute summary, 5-minute summary, was enough, we wouldn't have needed 45 minutes to talk at the start. So we have to understand, but when you're getting these objections, these hurdles, You're not actually helping someone by navigating in the way that you are. So you have to realize, but the key here is not always about the objection handling. Not about the razzle dazzle. Do you handle objections? Yes, of course. Will people have objections? Yes, of course. But actually, you want to focus more around objection prevention. And actually, throughout this process, being able to have conversations that talk about the fears, the misconceptions, the misunderstandings, all of that stuff, so that person can understand it better, so that it changes their beliefs, so it gives them the right information, it removes the old knowledge, whatever it might be, it inspires them wanting to change. Now, when you get to the end of the conversation, they don't feel like I need more time. They more should feel like, oh my God, I wish I found this sooner. And that's actually what people should think. So our goal here has to be, how do we move it forward? And your job is to progress a sale forward or completely disqualify them. I'll ask you a question. How many times in the last month have you said, you're not a fit for me? And some people, I'd never do it. I think I've sent 2, maybe 3 people in the last month off to someone else because I know they're not a fit for me. We won't get them the right results and they don't really tick the boxes. So I actually have someone else who's lower cost, but I will say, hey, listen, and we do this in this early stage here, by the way. And we even have it at this stage. And if if for some reason they got through here, we will find it here. And what we'll do is we will add it as part of our pre-frame in the conversation. And that could go something along the lines of, really appreciate that time's against us today. So we want to be real brief. Listen, if after the next couple of minutes we have a chat and I don't feel that we can get you the results you want, normally what I'll do is introduce you to someone else so that you can get the help you want without taking up either of our time. Is that all right to do if I feel that we can't help you? And normally people will be like, yes. Now think about the timeline of their life. We've met them on our path. We're in it for a very small window. We realise that we don't find them a fit for us, but we help them still on the pathway with someone else to help them move forward. It becomes easier because now we're not just trying to sell. Now what we're trying to do is focus on how can I help this person that is, I'm joining their journey, make sure that the time I'm with them, hopefully that's for a long period of time, but if it's for a short period of time, that the time I spend with them is valuable. And this is why it is so important. If you go off and you actually start doing this, you will automatically see a massive increase in the amount of sales that you get. You will reduce the amount of stress that you have, and you will automatically be more competent within it. Because now you've got a plan for what's happening before, during the appointment, between the appointment and the close, on the close, with the follow-up, with the pre-frames, with your objection handling, with what to do at each stage. How you're going to break their beliefs, change their beliefs, set the tone, put all the different parts of the puzzle within there. It is vital to realize. But once you have this organized in your business, it's not just that you'll get more sales. You can scale the business easier. Because now, as a prime example, we can press a button now and send a text message, a video, a voice note to everyone on our database. We can have people register for something and they're going to get texts and emails and voice notes. I get people all the time saying, my God, I can't believe how much you can follow up with us. But that's because we've got most of this is a well-oiled machine that's automating the vast majority of this stuff, which got us off the hamster wheel, which gets us to move forward. We don't want to just be chopping the tree down all the time. You want to get to the stage that the saw is so sharp that you can spend less time chopping the trees down, but get more trees. That's a tongue twister. Get more trees chopped down. And that's why this is vital. Okay. So the hour's gone pretty quick. As you can tell, we could very easily spend days on this type of stuff. And I really hope you guys watching this today gives you context to actually, if you make a change now, there's a whole world that can open up. Whether you're sat here now as a 20 grand a month business, realizing you could do a 200 grand a month business, whether it means that you've realized now, but actually you could go from where you are now, get this in place, and then get yourself to scale yourself out of the system. Maybe you realize, actually, do you know what I need to do? I need to go off and work out what my average conversion should be. I'm at 30%. My industry could be 60%, 70%. I don't know how to do it. Now you know where the problem lies. Now you can go and find a solution. If that's for me, amazing. But at least now make a decision to make a change. This isn't just about working with me. It's about the fact I actually quite like someone to come up to me and be like, hey, I did that call with you. I did that training. I did that video. I went and worked with X and now we're doing Y. It's time to make a change. For you business owners or salespeople, when you set your business up, what was the goal you had? And it wasn't to struggle with low conversions, being frustrated and stressed and tired. You had a goal and a vision for your business, for your career. And if you're not hitting that, it's time to make a change. Remember, what you're not changing, you're choosing. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. If you want to reach out to Michelle, we'll be in touch. Or drop us a message. We'll happily have a conversation so we can help. But I hope you found this useful. Right. Cheers, guys.